This webinar is less work, more traffic, what we all want. I'm Laura Roeder. I'm the lady in this picture right here. I'm the founder and CEO of Meet Edgar. If you want to chat about this presentation on Twitter, we would love that. You can tag me at LKR, tag our company and our support team at Meet Edgar, and you can use the hashtag LessMore. That hashtag is LessMore if you want to talk about what you're learning. I wanted to show you a picture of my family so you can know a little tiny bit about me. I live here in Austin, Texas with my husband, Chris, and my son, Hector. He's actually 2 now. I could not find a cute picture of all of us together except for this one when he was a tiny baby. So he's quite a bit bigger now. And I also wanted to tell you, let's see here. So we do have a free trial that we're giving out today. You don't need to worry about it right now, but I wanted to go ahead and give you the link because I am going to go through the onboarding with you after I finish this presentation. So I want to give you this link. Go ahead and sign up, but don't do anything. So just get your name and email in there so that we can start on the same screen after the presentation's over. If you're interested, I'm gonna go live along with you, explaining the tool and explaining our onboarding. And just to be clear, this is no credit card. You know, you don't have to email anyone to cancel or do anything to cancel. It's just totally free. If you don't want to keep using Edgar, you just don't do anything. You know, it's just a free trial. So go ahead and get signed up so that you can be ready to join me after the presentation is over and I'm going through the tool. But don't read ahead. You know, when you were in school, they were like, don't read ahead, don't read ahead. Go, because I want you to pay attention because I have some really, really valuable content that will apply to anyone using any tool, whether or not you're using Edgar. Don't worry, this isn't just gonna be an Edgar pitch. This applies to you, whatever you're doing. So here's what we'll cover today: how to double your social traffic using your existing content, how to increase your follower count, again, using your existing content, and how to increase your leads by doing one step of one-time work. So if this stuff sounds really easy, it is, yay, good news. So this presentation was designed for solopreneurs, freelancers, small business owners where you're doing all your social media yourself, or maybe you have like one part-time assistant helping you with social. I am really huge on what you can actually get done, what is practical over some theoretical thing that sounds great, but you will never actually have time to do. So everything I'm gonna share with you today is dead easy. It's all focused on how to repurpose and how to leverage what you've already created to systematize that and get way bigger results from social media. So I thought this was a really interesting stat. This is from Social Media Examiner's 2015 Social Media Marketing Industry Report. And the question was, do you agree that your Facebook marketing efforts are effective? Now, this was a poll of thousands of people who are using Facebook to market their businesses. So this isn't just random business owners, some are using it, some aren't. This is people that are using Facebook. And out of those people actively using Facebook to market their business, only 36% agree that it's actually working, which I thought was funny, but I also wasn't surprised. You know, I spend all day talking to small business owners, and so many people that I talk to say, yeah, I'm on Facebook. Is it working? I have no idea. I feel like I'm spending a lot of time. I feel like I'm wasting a lot of time. Am I getting results? It's kind of unclear. So this is, I do not want you to be in, you know, the larger percentage here. I want you to be in that 36% where you're like, yeah, obviously my Facebook marketing efforts are effective. So why is there such a big disconnect between people using Facebook and people thinking that Facebook is actually working for them? So if this is you, if you feel like you are spending way too much time on social without enough to show for it, you are definitely in the right place. I created this presentation just for you. And the good news is the gap between where you're at and where you want to be is really not that wide. All you need is a repeatable, proven social media marketing system to drive leads and to drive traffic. Hot tip, that's what I'm about to deliver to you right now. Yay. So pay attention, take notes, shut down your other screens. You know, you've committed to be here, so you may as well make the most of it. Actually listen, actually take notes, and then maybe actually put some of this advice in practice and see if it works for your business. So Let me take you back to what I used to do on social media, what I know a lot of people are still doing today. So I used to write 1 to 5 updates for social media every single day, a lot of them. Sometimes I would feel a little bit cranky about my social media. This is my son, so I can exploit him however I want. I wanted to find a picture that embodied what I feel about writing this many social media updates every day, and I think this really sums it up. So yeah, this is how I would feel a lot of the time. And sometimes I would feel on top of it, right? Sometimes I would be like, okay, I've written my next few weeks. It's all good. I'm on top of it. But the problem is you do that for a few weeks and then it's just this never-ending cycle, right? Maybe you're on top of it for a few weeks, for a few months, but you still have to write more social media updates and you have to write so many of them. And guys, it gets worse. So not only was I feeling this way, writing so many social media updates, but then I'm like, okay, I'm writing all these updates. Are they actually working? You know, is this actually doing anything for me? So then I checked my stats on social media. If you have not spent time digging through your Twitter and Facebook stats, they give you a lot of information and it's really interesting. So this is a screenshot from my real Twitter stats. So when you first go to your stats, you kind of think they're telling you what percentage of people are seeing things. It's actually not exactly what they make it seem like. So here's what Twitter shows you. They show you your impressions and then your engagement and then give you your engagement rate. So the one at the top is obviously really easy to do the math on, had about 200 impressions, 2 engagements, so that's about 1% engagement rate. And engagement means comments, retweets, or also favorites or likes, I believe, on Twitter. Basically, people are interacting with your content in some way. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not showing me my reach. I want to know, out of all the people that follow me on Twitter, how many people are actually seeing what I'm sending out, right? How many impressions that am I getting? So I calculated my impression rate. So with this screenshot, this was taken when I had 33,074 followers. So I'm dividing the impressions by the total number of followers to get my rate. Okay, things are looking even bleaker now that I'm looking at my impression rate. So that first one had 0.6%, the next one 1.9%, the last one 2.5%. And by the way, this is just like a little sample, but I did look through more of my tweets. Obviously at Edgar, we have access to literally thousands of social media accounts. And this is a very, very normal range. This kind of like, we'll call it like 2% range of people. This is the real data from Twitter. You can't argue with this. This is what Twitter is showing you. About 2% of the people that follow you see any one given tweet that you send out. So what does that mean? That means that in this case, 97.5 to 99.4% did not see the tweet. So it's like, not only am I writing new tweets every single day, new Facebook updates every single day, day in and day out, but the vast majority of people that follow me, not just like people on Facebook, right? These are the people that have chosen to follow me. The vast majority are not seeing a status update that I send. This has gotten a lot of attention on Facebook recently, right, about the dropping reach. That is true. It has dropped on Twitter as well. I think Twitter hides it in the stats as soon as I saw how upset everyone got about Facebook. This is the reality of social media. We do not want to hide from it. We want to be smart about it, right? 95% plus, and that's being generous, of the people that follow you do not see a status update. So I'm like, okay, if most people are not seeing a tweet, what would happen if I sent the same tweet again, right? Why am I writing new tweets all the time? And I'm saying tweet, but this applies to social media in general. Why am I writing new ones if 97% of people didn't see the first one? Shouldn't I show them that one again? So years ago, before I started Edgar, this is something that I started experimenting with. This is one example of a tweet that I've sent out a lot. So I found this via Twitter search. The timeline is not quite in order, but this is a quote that I've sent out 2 to 3 times a year for the past few years now. This screenshot starts in 2014. I probably started sending it before 2014. So for a few years, I've sent this consistently. And what's so fascinating to me, so you can see on the screenshot, those little arrows are the number of retweets, and the heart is the number of favorites or likes. Twitter keeps changing the terminology on this. That's why I'm like, the heart, the Twitter heart. Not even sure what they call it these days. But what's fascinating is how similar the numbers are. So if you're looking from top to bottom on this inspirational quote from Theodore Roosevelt, it got 5, 0, 4, 3, 2 retweets. So it's getting anywhere from no to 5 retweets every time it's sent out. Same with the hearts, 7, 3, 2, 5, 4. It's always getting some every time, right? And actually the numbers are pretty similar that it gets. Another example, in case you were thinking, well, maybe this doesn't work for more popular stuff, this is one of the status updates that I send out on social media that consistently does well. So it's a little kind of like inspirational words of wisdom. You can see this was sent out in February and in April of 2014. So that's pretty close together. That's only 2 months apart. One time it got 26 retweets, and then the other time, the time before, it got 25 retweets. So you can see this in your account. You can test this. I mean, obviously, I have all of our Edgar customers, so I know this is true. When you repeat content, it will get the same engagement. It will get the same results, as you can see here. And that's not a big shocker, right? If 97% didn't see it the first time, obviously it's gonna get a level of engagement and a level of clicks the second time as well. It just makes sense, right? So after I had this evidence, I'm like, I'm already writing all these status updates. So all I have to do is just save them and use them again, right? Instead of just writing them and sending them out once, well, I'll just write them, save them, and send them out again. So that's exactly what I started doing back in, I think 2012 or 2013 is when I first created the system. I like to call it the social media spreadsheet of doom. Maybe some of you listening have a similar spreadsheet of doom. Maybe you've had the same idea. So what I did is divide all my updates into different categories. So you can see these categories. This is the real spreadsheet, by the way. I went in and took a screenshot from back in the day. I had different columns for different types of social media status updates, like promotional stuff, links back to my own blog post, inspirational quotes, affiliate links, all the different types of content that I did had their own column. And then I would go through and copy and paste these into a social media scheduling tool. You can see there's no images because I just couldn't figure out how to store images well on a spreadsheet. So I was just like, I give up. I'm just not going to do images. I would mark the ones that had been used from the different columns, which is why there's the weird color coding, keeping the pace right, where I wanted a few from this column and a few from that, and mixing them together well. And the tool was really hard. Sometimes I would try to hack it by putting like these blank spaces in, as you can see, to try to keep things lined up better. Anyway, it was a mess, but it was a mess that worked and saved me a lot of time because I just gathered my updates. And now, instead of having to write new updates every day or every week, if I'm batching them, I can just copy and paste from this spreadsheet into a social media scheduling tool. But at the time, I had to copy and paste these over and over again. And just a little side note, this is the spreadsheet that inspired Edgar. So what I was doing manually and what I was teaching others to do is exactly how Edgar came to be, because I thought, why don't we have a tool that stores all of your updates in a categorized library for you, and then the tool will cycle through them and send them out to your social media accounts. So that's what Edgar does. Here's a little screenshot preview of Edgar today. So let's get into the meat of the takeaways for how you can use the existing content that you've already created to get more traffic to your site, more followers on social media, and more leads that will hopefully turn into customers for your business. So every single status update is an opportunity. Every single status update is an opportunity. So every status update that you send is a chance for you to get clicks if it has a link, right? That means traffic to your site or someone else's site. Hint, driving traffic to your site is very important. Every single status update is an opportunity for a retweet on Twitter or a share on Facebook. It's an opportunity for a comment, for engagement, and for another sort of engagement, right? That like or that favorite. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to be using terminology from Twitter and Facebook because those are still by far the two biggest social networks that are going to drive most of your traffic for most businesses. And they're also very similar in nature, so it's easy to talk about them. Everything I'm talking about in this presentation does apply to other social networks as well, but we're just going to use language from Twitter and Facebook for clarity. So here's all I need you to remember from this presentation. Multiply the status updates to multiply the opportunities. Remember how sad Hector was before. Now he's so happy because he remembered this and his life on social media became so easy. I thought maybe you'd remember this better if I put this picture in for you. So multiply the status updates to multiply the opportunities. That is your new mantra. Everything else I'm going to tell you is just kind of the nitty-gritty of how to make that happen in a super, super easy way using what you've already got. So number one thing that you want, that we're going to get you today, is more traffic. How to get more traffic using the content that you've already created. Obviously, I don't need to tell you how important traffic is. Traffic is humans coming to your site. If they don't come to your site, they can't know what you're buying and they can't buy it, right? A super important part of why we do social media marketing, why you're on social media in the first place as a marketing channel for your small business, is to drive traffic. So here's what you need to know about driving traffic. There are two types of blog posts, and this also applies to all content, right? This applies to videos, podcasts, whatever. Evergreen and not evergreen. So the term evergreen comes from the evergreen tree, which is always green year-round. Evergreen means content that is still useful, not just today, but a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. So I looked through my social media and just screenshotted a few headlines that are evergreen. So this is one about TripAdvisor's CMO and their content strategy, how they went from a content company to an online retailer. This is one from our Edgar blog, how to make an app under the hood with an Edgar developer. Co-founders are like spouses. Here's what you need to know before tying the knot. So this probably sounds familiar. Most small businesses, most, if not all, of the content on your blog is evergreen content, meaning it's like strategic content, it's how-to content. All of these topics are still useful years later, right? People are still getting value from these articles. But not all content is evergreen. Not all blog posts are evergreen. So here are some that I found that are not evergreen. Can pension fund troubles be mitigated by real estate? This is like the current state of, pensions. Dakota Access Water Protectors endangers rivers. So this is news. UK inflation rises to highest since June 2014. So what you'll notice about the not evergreen content is it's more news focused. It's more journalistic, right, in style. Most small businesses are not doing deep investigative journalistic reporting for their blogs, right? Some small businesses have some topics that are not evergreen, like maybe you're a financial advisor and you're talking about how the market's doing this week. That's not interesting 6 months later, right? But you probably have other content that is evergreen where you're talking about just how to have a great balanced portfolio in general. So most small businesses, you're gonna have at least some, if not for some businesses, all of your content is evergreen. And obviously this concept also applies to social media status updates that are not blog posts and that are not links. So the inspirational quotes that I showed earlier, evergreen content. I mean, some of them are from, people that died long ago. His words are still valuable. Obviously that's evergreen. Whereas if you're posting on social media, headed to see my mother-in-law for Christmas dinner, that is not evergreen. It does not make any sense to repeat. It is not valuable later. So for your purposes, for how to leverage your content for more traffic, we are honing in on these evergreen blog posts, and you probably have a lot of them. So every time you send out an evergreen blog post, you have created that opportunity for clicks and for shares. And here's the deal. If you send out 4 times the social media posts, you will generate 4 times the traffic. Simple as that. This is a question I get a lot about Edgar, because with Edgar, we have this promise to double your traffic from social media. And people are like, how does it do that? How does it double your traffic? And it's really simple. with Edgar on autopilot, Edgar is sending out your links for you in a way that you just don't have time to do if you're doing it manually. It's just really hard to achieve if you're doing it manually. Because people are sending out so many more links, you're getting a lot more opportunities for people to click those links and go back to your site. It sounds so basic. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to trick you here. Everything in this presentation is so easy for you to do today and so easy for you to execute. If you want 4 times the traffic to social media, post your evergreen blog post 4 times more often. I swear to you, it is as simple as that. You'll get a lot more traffic. And you're probably seeing in your blog a traffic pattern now that looks something like this. So we wrote a blog post about this, bit.ly/Edgar traffic. Don't look at it now, look at it later if you want to learn more about this. So most people's traffic, if you open up your Google Analytics account and you're looking at a blog post, most people's looks like this, which is what we call the long tail on the internet, right? So you have the huge spike on the first day and then the first week. So in this example, it's saying 50% of that traffic came in by day 10, 72% of the lifetime traffic came in by day 30, and the rest is that long tail where few or no people are coming in, maybe via search, or they're discovering it some other way. This is what your blog probably looks like if you look at it in analytics, because you are probably not sending out your evergreen posts over and over again. You're probably sending them out maybe once when they're first live, maybe you send them out a few times that first week, but then you are not leveraging them months later to get spikes in traffic. And obviously for our own blog, we use Edgar. So when we look at our traffic, we see a very different picture. So this is an example of one of our evergreen blog posts that we've had Edgar send out for us over and over again. The post first went live in January. So you see that big spike in January. In this case, it had the same or even bigger spike in April. And that's just because Edgar sent it out on autopilot and it got picked up. It got discovered. Maybe it got retweeted from someone with a big audience, or shared on Facebook, and it got shared again. This opportunity, again, here's an opportunity for traffic that was created because this evergreen post was sent out again. So if you're not doing that, you're just missing these opportunities. So here's your traffic takeaway. To get more traffic from social, all you need to do, this is so simple, is increase the amount of evergreen blog posts you send out. The more status updates, the more clicks. And I do say blog posts in particular for traffic, because blog posts are what's driving traffic back to your blog and your website. But you can obviously extend this concept. Another thing most people don't do enough of is put links to their opt-ins, their lead magnets, their homepage. All that stuff is evergreen content that you want to be sending out on social over and over again. That would get you a lot more traffic. Next section, more followers. How to get more followers. So we're talking about increasing that follower count of quality followers. We're talking about marketing our small business. We do not care about paying for fake followers. That does not help us get more customers. I'm talking about getting more real followers from the content you've already created, from the social networks that you are already on. Again, I'm going for like easy stuff that you can actually do with the time you actually have. So here is something I pulled from my Twitter timeline. I'm sure you're familiar. This is a retweet. This one's kind of a meta retweet because it's actually a double retweet. So I follow Owen McCabe, and he retweeted this retweet from Stuart SC that originally came from Paul Adams. So I follow only Owen. I do not follow Stuart or Paul, okay? But now their names and their content and their Twitter links, and in Stuart's case, his picture, are in my Twitter profile, right? Do not follow them, yet they're showing up in my profile. This is how you get more followers from the networks you're already on. These are the discovery opportunities for new people that don't follow you to come across your account, come across your links. And the cool part is retweets on Facebook, retweets on Twitter or shares on Facebook have a snowball effect. So here are two of my tweets that got a lot of traction. So the one on the left got 11 retweets, which I consider like a pretty decent number. You know, I'm happy to have 11 retweets. And I just noticed Twitter gives you this little hover with a few people that engaged with it. On this one, I noticed there was one person who engaged that has 35,000 followers on Twitter. That's a lot of followers. So it just shows you how this stuff happens, right? Someone shares and someone on their list has a big audience. Now, this example on the right is a really cool one. I was looking through my Twitter analytics to try to find what I've sent out that has gotten the most reach across Twitter, right? The most impressions. And I found this one tweet that had 141 retweets. That is bananas. That's a lot of retweets. This drove a lot of traffic. Unfortunately, it wasn't from my site. I wish this was a link back to my site. This is a link to someone else's site, and I know that it drove a lot of traffic for her because this is a huge reach. Now, I did not do anything with this tweet. I did not promote it. I didn't draw any special attention to it. It's just a tweet I sent out, and happenstance, it got a lot of traction, and it had a snowball effect because people retweeted it, and then their audience retweeted it, and so on and so on. So to get more followers, all you have to do, really easy, all you have to do is share more content that gets shared or retweeted. But here's the catch. I found that it's really, really hard to predict what is going to take off, right? If any of us knew what was going to go viral, we would just follow that formula and we would just do it. So I didn't know that this Flintstones tweet was going to get 141 retweets. Like, I just thought it was an interesting article. I shared a quote. I sent it out on Twitter. And this is, again, multiply the opportunities to multiply the results. If that wasn't one of the many tweets that I sent out that day, this could have never happened. You can bet that now I have Edgar sending this out over and over again because apparently people like it and it's going to go again. So obviously look at your own account, look at what's getting traction so you can try to model that and do more of it. But I found that it's largely a numbers game, right, to making this happen. You just need content and a certain amount of it is going to catch. So this 141 retweets means, to go back here, a lot of people saw me, saw LKR, saw this tweet show up on their feed that did not follow me. So I got a lot of new followers, quality followers that are actually choosing to follow me on Twitter when I had this take off and got these 141 retweets. Okay, last big takeaway is about leads. So how to use the social marketing system that you've put in place to get more leads and more customers. So this is the time where we're going off social. So this presentation is mostly very focused, as you've seen, on social media, but I didn't feel like I would be really delivering the best results to you if I didn't talk about this topic as well, because I think one of the biggest mistakes people make with social is they kind of forget where social is playing into their bigger marketing plan. And it really doesn't matter if you have 500,000 followers on a social network, if none of those people are clicking over to your site, if none of those people are giving you their email, if none of those people are buying. So what we're talking about now is generating leads from all this traffic that we've generated from social. So here's all you have to do. So we talked earlier about honing in on our evergreen pages and posts. Go to your evergreen pages and posts, or all your pages and posts, of course, and do the one-time work of putting email collection on them. Find the pages and posts. Number 2, put email collection on them. Number 3, profit. This one actually does work. That's kind of a joke, but you actually will profit if, if you have good email collection and you're following up with people. So this is like really simple. I know you already know this concept, online marketing 101, but this just kind of shows you how it all ties together, right? So here's an example of evergreen content. This is a podcast from Lead Pages Conversion Cast. By the way, podcasts are excellent evergreen podcasts. Almost all the podcasts out there are evergreen. Please, 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 if you have a podcast, do not just link to your latest episode. You put all this work into creating these episodes. Send out your old episodes over and over again on social. So this is great evergreen content that Lead Pages has created. And this is a screenshot from their blog. They've used a tool. I'm guessing in their case, they probably use their own tool, their lead boxes tool. There's lots of tools that do this to put lead collection, email collection on that post. So take your evergreen content, send it out on Facebook and Twitter. People click on it. Maybe it gets shared and more people click on it, right? They come back to your site and they have these opportunities to give you their email address, go through your marketing sequence, maybe if they're a good match, buy something from you. So this is a one-time thing, right? This is something you go to your blog, you put it in the sidebar. All you have to do is the one-time work of lead collection, put it on the content you're sharing on social, and now you've turned that social sharing into something that will actually generate leads for you. And the most important thing to remember about this is done over perfect. So if you are not currently collecting email addresses on your site, I want you to just put a box in that says, put your email in here, or newsletter, or even just a box that just says email, right? Anything is better than nothing. You can always go back and improve it later. And if you're already doing this, maybe this takeaway for you is to take an opportunity to split test what you're doing, or try something new, or create a lead magnet, which means some piece of content that you're giving people in exchange for their email address. This is something that you just need to get done, and then you can keep incrementally improving it over time. So all of these things together, right? The traffic, the followers, and the leads create a virtuous cycle, right? Here's what that cycle is. You create evergreen content, you post it to social, that content gets shares. The more shares it gets, the more clicks it gets. The more clicks, it drives traffic. That traffic generates leads, and those leads generate customers. That is the picture of how all this stuff works together. Good news is you've already created evergreen content, and you've probably already created evergreen status updates linking to that content, right? So all you're doing is repurposing the work you've already created in a really smart way that leads to this virtuous cycle of content get shared, get clicks, get leads, right? And the more social media status updates you post, the more opportunities for this cycle to go to work, right? If you do this one time with one piece of evergreen content, you're going to get shares, get clicks, get leads, get customers. But the more status updates you're sending out with your evergreen content, the more chances you have for this to happen. And hot tip, this guy, Meet Edgar, automates this whole process for you. Now I would like to move to what I call the yeah but section. I'm keeping half an eye on the comments, and I will do Q&A at the end. I forgot to say that we are doing Q&A. I have a little bit of an eye on the comments, and I see some of these have already come in. So this is the yeah, but what about this? You could call it the FAQ. When I've told people these ideas, there's some common yeah buts that come up. So I wanted to talk about that because you're probably thinking about them right now. Here is the most common, hands down. Yeah, this sounds good, but I don't want to repeat myself and annoy my followers and be like a little spam machine, right? So here's what I would advise. If you can work your way up to a 3-month block of social media content, so the numbers are going to depend on how often you're posting, right? So if you're posting 5 times a day, 5 days a week, that's 25 pieces of content per week. If there's 4 weeks in a month, that's 100 pieces a month, right? So if you have 100 pieces, and that's a frequent schedule, if you have 100 pieces, you have 1 month, add on another 100, now you have another month, add on another 100, and now you have 3 months worth of content. And if you have 3 months worth of content that you're cycling through, that means you're only reposting 4 times a year. That you can be so sure that you're not bothering people by repeating when you're only posting 4 times a year, but you don't have to start there. You know, start with a few weeks worth and then build your way up. Again, you're already creating all this content, right? So you're not doing anything any harder. It's just instead of creating it and throwing it away, save it so that you can send it again. That's all you're doing. Another reason we all feel this way is because you read everything you post, but no one else does. So I read and I'm familiar with all the status updates that I send out on social media. So obviously I follow the strategy, I repeat myself, and it even feels this way to me. I'll see that and I'll be like, oh, I remember that quote. Didn't I just send that out? But it feels that way to me because I saw it. Okay, the stats tell you a different story. Again, if you don't believe me when I said earlier in this presentation, check your own stats. 95% plus of people do not see a status update, right? So they're not remembering it. They didn't see it. And if they do see it again, they really, really don't care. This is the other thing that people get so worried about. Like, but what if someone does see it? You know, what if someone looks at my Twitter account and they see that I'm repeating content? So this one's kind of funny because what does trending mean? You know, the thing we all want for our content is for it to be trending, is for it to go viral. All that means is that it was repeated a lot, right? When your content is trending, it means it's posted all over the place, the same thing over and over. And we all have this experience where you see something, you see a link, you see it the first time, you see another friend share it, you see another friend share it, and then you're like, all right, this thing, you know, this thing, maybe I want to click on it now because I've seen it a few times. And you just have to remember, of course, just because someone has seen it doesn't mean they clicked on it. Maybe they did click on it. Maybe they read it. Maybe if they do see it again, they're going to share it this time because they see it come up again. It's just something where it feels weird with your own stuff because you have the perception of reading 100% of what you post. You have to trust the numbers that all of your followers are only seeing 5% of what you post, not 100%. And to give you an example from this, so this is an Edgar customer that we published a case study on, winetracker.co, and they started using Edgar to repeat a lot of content. They grew their Twitter account and their traffic to their site and their app downloads like gangbusters once they started using Edgar. They had kind of crazy results. So I just looked at their Twitter account to pull this. These things were only posted 10 days apart. So you can see one of these was October 4th, the other was October 14th. Just like I showed you earlier on my account, it's kind of funny how similar the numbers are, right? One got 18 retweets and 14 favorites, one got 12 retweets and 17 favorites. That's a lot of retweets. This is great exposure for them. These were only posted 10 days apart. So when I tell you build up to 3 months, I'm honestly just telling you that to make you feel better, is the truth. Because I know people feel like too spammy if they're repeating every 10 days and they're like, I want it to be longer than that. That is your perception. That is not your audience's perception, right? Your audience is seeing a tiny amount of what you post. You can post things so much more often than you think and get the same results every time you post. So this is another yeah, but won't scheduling all my updates make me sound like a robot? So here's what you have to remember. You are still writing all of your updates in the strategy that we're talking about. We're not having a machine write updates for you. You are writing all your content. You're just automating how they're posted, right? To post them over and over again. Your audience does not know if you're posting a Facebook update from your phone or from your desktop or from a tool. They don't know and they don't care how it's posted. They just want to read the content. And by the way, if you're not trying to come up with stuff on the fly, if you're not panic posting on social, the quality of your content is going to be much higher. So I'm certainly not suggesting, oh, just have someone who knows nothing about your business or have some kind of bot, you know, write all your updates and outsource all your social. I'm actually talking about being more deliberate with your content, making sure that you have good quality evergreen content that you can keep repeating. So another big yeah, but isn't social media supposed to be a natural, spontaneous conversation? And the fact is that conversation is a really important part of social. I mean, if you think that you shouldn't use any sort of tool to schedule your updates, you're not really using it as a marketing channel. And I mean, one, we're just obviously not on the same page on our philosophy, right? I'm talking about using social media as a marketing channel for your business. It's very different than just posting personal updates for fun, right? And what's really cool is the more you systematize your posts, the more opportunities for conversations and engagements that you have. You can see this like, if you want to look at our Meet Edgar Twitter account or my Twitter account at LKR, if you look at not just the tweets tabs or tweets and replies tabs, the way that both those accounts use the strategy is automate your content and then go in and have the conversations. So what's kind of cool is if you're automating things and repeating things like conversation starters, obviously along with like just the links that you're sharing, which people will comment on, and retweet for you and you can go in and thank them. Again, it's that numbers game with opportunities. This also creates more opportunities for engagement, right? For natural engagement on social, which is still a really important part of social media. This whole strategy frees up your time to actually do that. And what about live updates? So live updates absolutely still have a place. I'm not saying all your content has to be evergreen. You can still pop in and do the more personal updates or the more timely updates. It's just now you don't have to rely on those, right? You have your evergreen content going out over and over again. So you don't have to rely on thinking of something to say today. You can just pop that in on top of what you already do. You don't need to leave room for it. Again, you can post a lot more than you probably think you can, so you don't need to leave room for that stuff. So to sum things up, if you don't remember anything else from this presentation today, maybe this picture will help you remember, multiply the status updates to multiply the opportunities, right? The more times you send your evergreen content out, the more chances you get for this virtuous cycle to happen, right? The content leads to posting it on social, gets shares, get clicks, get leads, and then get customers. And if you'd like a free trial of Edgar, this is actually something we do not normally do. Usually we like the commitment of a full sign up, but as a special little treat for you today, we'd like to give you a free trial, no strings attached. You don't have to put in a credit card. You don't have to cancel. The trial will just run out at some point, and then you don't have to do anything. So just sign up if you just want to check out our interface. If you're curious what Edgar is like, go to meetedgar.com/more traffic. Thank you.